Okay, Bruno, page 118. I peeped round the leg of the chair and watched the hundreds of witches' feet walking out through the doors of the ballroom. When they had all gone and the place was absolutely silent, I began to move cautiously about on the floor. Suddenly, I remembered Bruno. He must surely be around here somewhere, too. Bruno! I called out. I wasn't seriously expecting that I would be able to speak at all now that I had become a mouse, so I got quite the shock of my life when I heard my own voice. My own, perfectly normal, rather loud voice coming out of my tiny mouth. You would think it would have just returned, like it would have made it a mouse squeaks, right? So I would be really relieved that I had my voice. That would be huge, right? It was wonderful. I was thrilled. I have the hiccups. I tried it again. Bruno Jenkins, where are you? I called out. If you can hear me, give a shout. My voice was exactly the same and just as loud as it had been when I was a boy. Hey there, Bruno Jenkins, I called. Where are you? There was no answer. I pottered about between the seat legs, trying to get used to being so close to the ground. I decided I rather liked it. He's handling this way better than I would have, right? You're probably wondering why I wasn't depressed at all. Yeah, that was just what I was just wondering. Yeah. I found myself thinking, what's so wonderful about being a little boy anyway? Okay. Why is that necessarily any better than being a mouse? I don't know where he's going with this. I know that mice get hunted and they sometimes get poisoned or caught in traps, but little boys sometimes get killed too. Not as much as mice. Little boys can be run over by motor cars or they can die of some awful illness. Again, not as often as a mouse dies. Little boys have to go to school. Mice don't. Mice don't have to pass exams. Mice don't have to worry about money. Mice, as far as I can see, have only two enemies, humans and cats. My grandmother is a human, but I know for certain that she will always love me, whoever I am. And she never, thank goodness, keeps a cat. When mice grow up, they don't ever have to go to war or fight against other mice. Mice, I feel pretty certain, all like each other. People don't. Okay, I see his point, but I still don't want to be a mouse. Yes, I told myself, I don't think it is at all a bad thing to be a mouse. Of course, he's a little boy that has no brothers or sisters or family, except for his grandmother, right? So maybe he has a different perspective than me, but I would have handled this quite as well, right? I was wandering around the ballroom floor thinking about all this when I spotted another mouse. He was crouching on the floor holding a piece of bread in his front paws and nibbling away at it with great gusto. It had to be Bruno. Hello, Bruno, I said. He glanced up at me for about 2 seconds, that went right on guzzling. What have you found? I asked him. One of them dropped it, he answered. It's a fish paste sandwich, pretty good. He too spoke with a perfectly normal voice. One would have expected that a mouse, if it was going to talk at all, would do so with the smallest and squeakiest voice you could imagine. It was terrifically funny to hear the voice of the rather loud-mouthed Bruno coming out of the tiny mouse's throat. Yeah, I can see where that'd be weird, right? Sophie is being needy over here. Listen, Bruno, I said. Now that we are both mice, I think we ought to start thinking a bit about the future. He stopped eating and stared at me with his small black eyes. What do you mean we? He said. The fact that you're a mouse has nothing to do with me. But you're a mouse too, Bruno. Don't be a fool, he said. I'm not a mouse. Yeah, I'm afraid you are, Bruno. I most certainly am not, he shouted. Why are you insulting me? I haven't been rude to you. Why do you call me a mouse? Don't you know what happened to you? I said. What on earth are you talking about? Bruno said. I have to inform you, I said, that not very long ago the witches turned you into a mouse. Then they did it to me. You're lying, he cried. I'm not a mouse. If you hadn't been so busy guzzling that sandwich, I said, you would have noticed your hairy paws. Take a look at them. Bruno looked down at his paws. He jumped. Good grief, he cried. I am a mouse. You wait till my father hears about this. He might actually think it's an improvement, I said. I don't want to be a mouse, Bruno shouted, jumping up and down. I refuse to be a mouse. I'm Bruno Jenkins. There are worse things than being a mouse, I said. You can live in a hole. I don't want to live in a hole, Bruno shouted. And you can creep into the larder at night. That's like the pantry. I said, and nibble through all the packets of raisins and cornflakes and chocolate biscuits and everything else you can find. You can stay there all night eating yourself silly. That's what mice do. Oh, well, that's a thought, Bruno said, perking up a bit. But how am I going to open the door of the fridge to get at the cold chicken and all the leftovers? That's something I do every evening at home. He's a little food obsessed, isn't he? Maybe your rich father will get you a special little mouse fridge all to yourself, I said. One that you can open. You say a witch did this to me? Bruno said. Which witch? The one who gave you the chocolate bar in the hotel lobby yesterday, I told him. Don't you remember? Ugh, the filthy old cow, he shouted. I'll get her for this. Where is she? Who is she? Forget it, I said. You don't have a hope. Your biggest problem at the moment is your parents. How are they going to take this? Will they treat you with sympathy and kindness? Okay, well, just stop and think about that for a second. If you showed up at home and you're a mouse, like, would your parents even give you the time to speak and say, hey, don't kill me, before they're trying to trap you and shoo you outside? And then even if you were able to get their attention, like, don't you think they're going to be, that you were playing a joke on them or something? Like, I know, I think I would have had, I don't think I would have believed that my sons had been turned into a mice. Like, that's crazy. Bruno considered this for a moment. I think, he said, that my father is going to be a bit put out. And your mother? Oh, she's terrified of mice, Bruno said. Then you've got a problem, haven't you? Why only me? He said. What about you? My grandmother will understand perfectly. I said, she knows all about witches. Bruno took another bite of his sandwich. What do you suggest? He said. I suggest we both go first of all and consult my grandmother, I said. She'll know exactly what to do. I moved towards the doors, which were standing open. Bruno, still grasping part of the sandwich in one paw, followed after me. When we got out into the corridor, I said, we're going to run like mad. Stick close to the wall all the way and follow me. Do not talk, and do not let anyone see you. Don't forget that just about anyone who catches sight of you will try to kill you. I snatched the sandwich out of his paw and threw it away. Here goes, I said. Keep behind me. I would not trust Bruno. Not a chance would I trust Bruno. Not a chance. And I wonder if the grandmother's going to be able to figure out how to get them turned back into boys, right? Raise a finger if you think Grandma can get them changed into a boy. That's my hope.